Well, as the United States reflects on 20 years since the September 11, 2001 attacks, the notorious Guantanamo Bay detention facility, which houses suspected 9/11 mastermind Khalid Sheikh Mohammed and other detainees captured during the War on Terror, remains open with no apparent closing date in sight. Some people like Mansoor Adayfi was detained at Guantanamo Bay Prison for well over a decade, 14 years to be precise, without even being charged. Adayfi wrote a memoir titled "Don't Forget Us Here, Lost and Found at Guantanamo." Mansoor Adayfi joins us now to talk more about his ordeal. Mansoor, a very good evening to you. Thank you so much for joining us and a warm welcome to the Globe.
Thank you so much for having me today, and good evening to all South African people.
Now, just briefly tell us about your experience at Guantanamo Bay Prison. What is it like?
Guantanamo. Guantanamo, as you know, Guantanamo now is a symbol of torture, injustice, lawlessness, abuse of power, and a definite detention. Also, it's a death sentence for the people who stay there. I spent almost around 15 years at that place. No charge, no right. Was tortured. All of us were tortured, abused, and it's a lot to talk about it. So I tried to put all my experience in one book. So imagine I was only 19 years old when I was shipped to Guantanamo. Then I spent almost like half of my life at that place, totally disconnected from the world, systematically tortured, abused, and Guantanamo turned to be an experimenting lab on us at that place since General Miller arrived in 2002 and turned the facility into an experimenting lab where he started developing the enhanced interrogation technique, or what they call what you call it, enhanced torture technique. General Jeffrey Miller, the same person who was sent to Iraq, who tortured prisoners in Abu Ghraib and other jails too.
But why were you arrested, and what were the charges that were preferred against you?
Like many people, you know, according to the ACLU, according to the ACLU, 86% of the prisoners at Guantanamo were either sold for bounty or were a mistaken identity. So when Americans went to Afghanistan, they were throwing flyers offering a large bounty of money for anyone who would capture or sold foreigners, Arabs or non-Arabs. So in my case, I was captured by the warlord, sold to the CIA for money, tortured at the black site, then sent to Guantanamo. As you know, United States at that time, those detainees weren't captured in the battlefield or fighting. You know, United States were paying a lot, large of money for Pakistan and other countries. People were brought from Afghanistan, Pakistan, UAE, United Arab Emirates, Mauritania, Bosnia, and many parts of the world, and all they shipped to Guantanamo.
I mean, do we know at this point why Guantanamo prison is still open 20 years after the 9/11 attacks?
Guantanamo was intentionally and deliberately chosen to host us at that place because the island outside of the law. So Guantanamo doesn't, American law doesn't apply at Guantanamo. Also, we were told even Geneva Convention or international law doesn't apply at Guantanamo. That's what they call us detainees. We had no right whatsoever. Around 800 men were imprisoned at Guantanamo. Only 30 men remained at there. Obama, as you know, that Obama wants to close that place, but the Congress legislate rules and make it difficult for him to either transfer detainees or to close the detention. As we know, when Trump came, he obliged to keep the place open and to bring more detainees. Now we have Biden, which his administration said he's going to close it. 2 months ago, we sent 6 former Guantanamo detainees sent a letter to Biden asking him to close the detention. We hope Biden will fulfill his promise and close the detention. They perpetuate the myth that Guantanamo held the worst of the worst terrorists, and which is not true. You know, like there was none of the prisoners at Guantanamo have been convicted yet, and there was no rights whatsoever to the brothers who were still there. and almost like 10 brothers has been cleared for release, and they're waiting for United States to find a place where they can be resettled.
And who is still being held at Guantanamo? Because we know that, a relatively small number of about 39 men are still being held at Guantanamo prison, and that includes the alleged mastermind of these 9/11 attacks, Khalid Sheikh Mohammed. And yeah, he's the mastermind of this, and he hasn't been charged till to date, 20 years later. And I do understand that 10 of the detainees as well do not face charges, and they've been approved by the U.S. agencies for release, but they're still being held. Do we know why that is the case, and who is still held, in Guantanamo prison? And those detainees, are they all linked to the 9/11 attacks, or is it because of any other offences that have been charged with?
The clear brothers, and there will be also more will be cleared too, because I'm talking to the lawyer and I know exactly the process at Guantanamo. I live with those brothers at that place for years and years. They have no connection to any like Al-Qaeda or Taliban or were fighters. Those who accuse for connection like Khalid Sheikh Mohammed and others, we believe in the justice system. They should be, they can just, one of the biggest things, there is no justice. This is the problem. Guantanamo is a baseless, a legal base place, prison. Even lawyers find it difficulty to find some kind of legality for those people to prosecute it. Only those commissions, which also operate outside the law. Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, they found it difficult to prosecute him because the man was captured and was tortured and badly. So the obtaining evidence under torture, it can be usable against him in court. So delaying justice, it's like justice denial. So it is kind of like hard and difficult for the lawyers to find kind of legality to what happened at Guantanamo. So also, plus the U.S. government keeps changing the rules, keeps changing the law every time.
And what helped you get through the 14 years of incarceration at Guantanamo?
Oh, my friend, this is a long story. I mean, you can read the book, you find our struggle to survive at that place. But what I can tell you, Alhamdulillah, Azza wa Jal, as Muslims, our faith helped us to survive that place. Also, the brotherhood, the friendship, and many other things like sense of humor. And, I don't know if I can say we survived, because for me, 15 years is a huge gap in my life. So physically, I am 38 years old, but mentally, I feel like I'm still in my early 20s, because when I was at Guantanamo, time froze for me at that place. Alhamdulillah, Azza wa Jal, I finally got out, and now I'm looking forward to build my life and move on.
Yeah. Mansoor, tell us about the art that helped you through your time in prison.
Art from Guantanamo, we lived in solitary confinement for around 8 to 9 years, totally disconnected from the world. We had no pens, no books. We are not allowed to, we have only 1 hour a day sometime to go out direct. In 2010, when President Obama failed to close the detention, they relaxed the rules. We also were on hunger strike for 3 years. So we negotiated with the current administration that we should get classes, art class, English classes, and get access to TV, newspaper, magazine, and books, and so on. So as you see the product of the brothers there, we started taking art classes, and we learned how to paint. And this is reflect, they said art is a mirror to the people's soul. This is the reflect of our moment of our life at Guantanamo, about painful, about flowers. People find art one of the surviving mean at Guantanamo, because art, it was a way to escape the pain of being in jail. It was a way to express yourselves, to express ourselves at that place. So this, I sent you some of the artwork we did at Guantanamo.
Let's talk about your book. Don't forget us here, Lost and Found at Guantanamo. I mean, what is it that you're trying to highlight here? Is it about your experiences in prison? Is it about the entire 9/11 attacks legacy? And I mean, is it about Islamophobia perhaps? Because, you know, so many people have linked those narratives.
You know, the product of, first of all, I would like to say one word, that 9/11 is the product of the failure of U.S. foreign policy. And most people don't ask what led to 9/11. Why 9/11 happened in the first place? And we should talk about it, honestly and openly.
Yes.
Secondly, about my book, I wrote it at Guantanamo. The first time it was confiscated by U.S. by the cabinet administration in 2013. Then I have to write it again in 2015. It is an important and unique book because it is the only book that covers 15 years of Guantanamo. It talks the book that take the readers to the secretive place at that time. I thought if I could manage, if I could cut those moments of beauty and joy, a moment of our struggle to survive at that place, I might be able to manage to change how people thought about Guantanamo. It is also to tell the truth about us and Guantanamo, who we were, what kind of people. It's stories about brothers, about guard, camp staff, about the animals, cat, iguanas, about lawyers, about Guantanamo itself, what the purpose of Guantanamo, how Guantanamo evolved and it changed. So, alhamdulillah, we managed to, I wrote that book as letters to my lawyer. I would like I go to the classroom while it's chained and shackled to the ground. And every week I would send a chunk of letters to my lawyer. She collected all the letters. And then the book got approved. For the last 3 years, I have been working with my friend Antonio Alio to get it done. And why I call it unique, not because I wrote it, because it covers 15 years at Guantanamo. It is the only book that covers the amount of time.
Let's talk about how you feel about Guantanamo. Are you sad? Are you angry? Are you disappointed? I mean, are you still angry at the administration or the establishment that threw you to Guantanamo?
No. I'm not angry at anyone.
Okay.
Alhamdulillah, I said I accept my fate. That's from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala first. Second, also it is my duty as a Muslim, as I live there, to defend those helpless, to defend the brothers who stood there. That I wear this scarf as solidarity with my brothers, that we haven't forgot about Guantanamo, we haven't forgot them. And also to, I joined CAGE organization and we work on campaign, International Witness campaign. We're also campaigning to close Guantanamo. And I work in activism to defend those who have been wrongly detained or oppressed or stripped their freedom. For me, I say it is I don't want anyone to face the same face. But for myself, I have made peace with Guantanamo. And alhamdulillah, I have moved off what kind of like garage of hate and so on, because my religion teach me not to hold any grudge or hate against anyone.
Yes.
And it gives me also peace. Alhamdulillah Azza wa Jal, because hate and grudge only blindness.